Hello there guys, Francis Gray here and welcome back to part 3 of the pyramid head from Silent Hill resin kit build. Okay guys, so if you've seen part 1 and part 2, basically this is a STL file that you can download offline. I got my file from Thingiverse and it was a really nice sculpt of Pyramid Head, Dragon, two-legged victim, obviously from the Silent Hill franchise. So as you can see there, this STL file is really nice detail. And especially it says free as well. It's one of the better sculpts, I suppose, of the pyramid that I've seen online. So it's printed, or it's been printed from both resin printer and filament printer. So the skirt's been filament, the sword's filament, and then the rest of it is all resin. The only other part that's filament is the Silent Hill logo, and the base has been scratch built. So yeah, so if you've seen the other videos, if you haven't, there's links down in the description bar below. But if you've already seen them, then stay tuned. Let's crack on with part 3. So let's lay some base colours. Okay guys, so for the first job, I'm going to apply some dark brown acrylic paint to the floorboards, and then at a later stage we can lighten them up with some dry brushing. Okay guys, so now that we're going ahead and we give this a dark brown base coat, we want to get in amongst all these little nooks and crannies to add a darker layer. So how we're going to achieve that is I've mixed some black acrylic with a bit of water to make a black wash. So I'm just going to paste it on, and then I'm going to use a bit of kitchen towel to mop off the excess, and then once dry it'll add an extra depth of detail. Okay guys, so we'll go ahead and leave that to dry. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some lighter brown, and I'm just going to put it on a palette and I'm going to lightly dry brush over the top, and then hopefully we'll start seeing some of the details. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to lightly mix in a tiny bit of this cream colour in amongst the normal brown, and then very lightly only highlight with that. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to apply some black to the bottom of the base. Okay guys, so for the next part I've got two nice bits of red felt here. So I'm going to cover the bottom of the base with PVA glue. I'm going to stick these in place and then we're going to weight it down and leave it a couple of hours to dry.
Tomorrow.
Okay guys, that's nice and solidly stuck on there. So I'm going to take some scissors and I'm going to carefully cut around the excess. Okay guys, so as you can see there, that's worked out pretty nice actually. So yeah, for the next part we added a few little scratch marks as we were cutting, which I knew it always happens when you're cutting with those kind of scissors. But we can just go straight back over it with some more acrylic black. Okay guys, so for the next part I want to give a brown wash to the top part of this wood. So it basically just gives it a more unified colour, and I'm going to go over it with a regular medium brown watercolour. Okay guys, we'll just leave that to dry. So for the next part what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give a light dry brush of white over the main letters and trying to not get it on the black. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go in and add some base colour, which is Umbral number 61, which is a regular flesh colour, and I'm basically going to give it a one quick coat all over. Okay guys, so for the next bit, now is a good opportunity to go in with a tiny hint of silver and highlight some of the heads on these nails. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of this dark blue watercolour, and I'm just going to lightly make some lines on there which hopefully will later look like deep veins under the skin. Okay guys, so I know it looks super messy at the moment, but once these have dried and we go over it with a few coats of a lighter skin colour, these will be barely shown through, so they'll look like deep veins under the skin. So we'll leave this to dry and then we'll crack on with the next part. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to paint this skirt part, or this leather apron part, with some medium brown watercolour, and then we're going to leave that to dry. We might have to do this in a couple of stages or a couple of layers, but hopefully that will make this look a totally different shade and colour to the rest of the pyramid head, but also make it look like it's like a leathery kind of skin texture, hence the flesh tone undercoat. So yes, I'll go ahead and I'll paint this, and then we'll see how it's looking. Okay guys, I'm going to go in with a second coat of brown watercolour to the bottom. Okay guys, so while this is drying, this is probably a good opportunity to give this knife a base coat of a basic silver. Now obviously we will be darkening it down and rusting it up later on, so this is just going to be an undercoat. Okay guys, so now is probably a good opportunity to start darkening down the actual pyramid helmet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a base coat of a dark brown. Okay guys, so for the next part, now I noticed with the Silent Hill logo, it's got like a yellowish, orangish kind of glow on the outside and then it's like white on the inside. So in order to try and recreate that, I'm just going to go over the Silent Hill logo with some yellow watercolour. Okay guys, so I'll leave that to dry and then we can add some highlights. Okay, so now that the watercolour's dry, we're going to go in with some white acrylic and we're just going to paint the insides of each letter to make it look like that halo effect. Okay guys, we'll leave that to dry. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go ahead and I want to give a bit of a coating to the apron, and I'm going to use a light rust colour. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to use some dark brown acrylic and I'm just going to try and tidy up this handle part. Okay guys, so this is probably a good opportunity to do another coat of silver to the blade. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go in with some mushroom grey and I'm going to lightly dry brush over some of the flesh parts. Okay guys, we'll let that first layer dry. We don't want to go too thick because we don't want to lose all the veins and whatnot. So we'll leave that to dry, and then for the next shading, those veins should look a lot more deeper inside the body. So so stay tuned. Okay guys, so now that the base has been painted, it's probably a good idea to protect the paint job with a few coats of clear matte varnish. Okay guys, so for the next part I've gone ahead and I've mixed a black wash. This is just watered down black acrylic, and I'm basically going to give a few key parts a coat of washed down black, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess with some kitchen towel. Okay guys, so you can see that was a lot of cleanup work, but I think it has made it look a lot more natural now. So all the dark areas have got a nice dark tone to it. These creatures are quite mucky and kind of like I suppose like smoke covered, because obviously there's burning ash in the actual town of Silent Hill. So that has worked great for a layer. So everything looks misty, dark and dank now, which is iconic with the characters and the monsters from the game. So what we'll do now is we'll leave this to dry, and then we'll add some highlights, and then we'll start adding some little microscopic details and scratches and wounds and blood and spatters and stuff like that. And then hopefully this guy's not long off being finished. So yeah, stay tuned. Okay guys, so now that this layer is dry, I'm going to go in and I'm going to give a little highlight touch up of mushroom grey just to get some of the muscle definition back. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a few dry brush layers to the actual pyramid helmet. So what I'm going to do is this stuff here, which is like a surface primer, but it works really good for like a rust effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it in with a little bit of mushroom grey, which is the residues of what I've just done on the skin, and then that should make for like an interesting colour mix. And I'm going to do the exact same but with the sword. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to use a bit of this purple watercolour, and I'm just going to add a little bit of deep highlight to some of the muscle tone areas. Okay guys, and I'm going to do the same with a tiny bit of red just to emphasise a couple of cuts to make it look like it's sore or it's bruised. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to do the same but with a little bit of black watercolour, and I'm going to emphasise a couple of like infected veins. Okay guys, so this part here seems to be a lot more mucky and darker than what the legs are. So I'm going to go in with some black watercolour and just add a couple of little splodge lines. Okay guys, so while I've got the black watercolour out, I'm just going to go in all these little creases here and just define them a little bit more. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of blood to key parts. Okay guys, so quite a lot of images that I've seen of Pyramid Head. He always seems to quite often have bloodied hands where obviously he's killed things. So I'm going to use the same watered down red as a base coat, and I'm just going to lightly go over the hand areas to mimic staled dried in blood, I suppose. That's discoloured the skin, and then we can apply a little bit more fresh later on. Okay guys, so we'll leave that for now, we'll leave that to dry, and then we can go in with some fresher blood and highlights. Okay guys, I want to go ahead and I want to add a few extra little details. Basically I want to add a few more scratch marks to the helmet, just to give it a bit more battle damage, I suppose. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to go too crazy, I'm just going to go in with a sharp scalpel, and I'm just going to lightly add a few scratch marks. Okay guys, so it doesn't make a huge massive change, but it does add a little bit more character. So yeah, for the next stage we'll add some silver highlights. Okay guys, going to add a tiny little bit of silver just to some of the edges, just to give it more of a metallic look. Okay guys, and I'm going to do the same with the sword. Okay guys, so we'll leave that to dry. Okay guys, so I've just had a cool idea. Now this seems to be a little bit on the barren side. So what I'm thinking about doing is making it out that Pyramid Head has obviously killed this creature and he's been dragging it along with him. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chuck the rest of what's left of this blood on my fingers, and I'm just going to blood stain the backs of the legs, and then later on when we go to make the proper blood, we can trail it along the floorboards to tells a story that he's dragging it. So yeah, so I'll just go ahead and do that now. Okay guys, so I think that'll do for the blood stain, and then when we go to add the proper blood later, that'll look a lot better. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to use some epoxy resin glue, so part A and part B, equal measures of both parts, mixed together thoroughly, and I'm going to be sticking it on the bottom of Pyramid Head's I suppose apron / skirt, and then on the bottom of the victim's legs as well, and then leave it to dry, and then this should all be all one piece then. So yeah, so let's get mixing. Okay guys, I'll go ahead and I'll leave that to dry.
Tomorrow for sure.
Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and I've left this 24 hours. This is nice and dry now and it's nice and solid. So for the next stage, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it a quick blast of matte spray paint, varnish, so it seals all the shading in. And then once that's dry, we can then start thinking about applying a much more fresher, richer blood. So yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll do this, and then we can crack on with the build. Okay guys, so as you can see there, the matte varnish is sealed in the shading really nice. So we're still on track to create the next stage, or like the thicker, fresher blood. But before we go ahead and do that, I was re-watching one of the scenes from the Silent Hill movie, and whenever the pyramid head turns up on screen, there seems to be a lot of cockroaches everywhere, which I quite like the idea of, because it's kind of like these insects are kind of I suppose like drawn to like the death and the decay of the creatures themselves, so to speak. So with this being like a big flat open area, I thought the odd little cockroach here or there, maybe the odd one on Pyramid Head himself, would bring a lot of detail to the area. So what I did was I went online on Thingiverse, found a file which was free to download, which was basically just a very simple shape of a cockroach. Basically just shrinked it right down, copied and pasted it like 30 times to make like 30 little tiny little cockroaches, and then printed them off on PLA filament. And this is what we've got. So as you can see there, they're really tiny little cockroaches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a quick blast of black spray paint, and then once dry turn them over and do the other side, and then I might hit them with a bit of gloss as well so they're nice and shiny, and then we can start gluing them in key places around the base. So should be fun. Okay guys, so all these little cockroaches are now painted a matte black and given a quick blast of gloss, but I might go ahead and gloss over them again at some point. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to super glue a few in a few different key areas. I might put the odd one on his scare, I'm not right too sure yet. But I'm going to be sticking these with the wood with PVA glue. And then if it's going to be stuck onto the actual pyramid head, then it'll be super glue. Okay guys, so while these are drying, I thought now's probably a good opportunity to glue the blade in this little crevice here on the floorboard. Okay guys, so now that all these have dried and are stuck in place, for the next stage I'm going to open up some clear gloss varnish. I'm going to carefully put some gloss on top of all the little cockroaches so they pick up the light a bit better, and then I'm going to apply some clear varnish into this pot, add a bit of acrylic red, maybe darken it down a little bit, and then we'll start adding some fresh blood. Okay guys, so I'll leave this coat to dry, and then I might go a shade lighter with the red for the blood, and then we can maybe do some more dry brushing, and I think we're getting close to the end. Okay guys, so now that that's dried, for the next stage I'm going to go in with just some regular red acrylic, and I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of highlight to some of the bloodied areas, just so it's more visible. So, okay guys, so now that that's drying, for the next stage I'm going to go over with just a tiny hint of mushroom grey, and I'm just going to try and highlight some of the muscles again. Okay guys, so for the next part I want to add a tiny little bit of like a blood spatter to a few little key areas. So what I did was I basically just watered down some red acrylic, and I've got an old toothbrush that I don't want no more, so I'm just going to put it on the end and I'm just going to spray it on a few areas. Okay guys, so for the next part I'm going to use the same clear gloss varnish, and I'm just going to go over some of the blood and some of the wet parts. Okay guys, I think he's done. Okay guys, so I know that reveal teaser was a bit on the dark side, but that was just me having a bit of fun and wanting to capture a little bit of the atmosphere from the games. So I hope it worked alright. I'll give you a quick 360 of him built up now, so you get a general idea of what he looks like finished. So all in all, I'm really happy with how this has all turned out. This is my first build up of a resin printed kit that I've done myself. So I can definitely say I've got the bug now. So I think I'll be 3D printing some more kits off. Soon I'll be starting work on some of the nurses from the game. So obviously we've got the iconic nurses, and this guy is going to take the centre of one of my shelves in my display case. And then I'm going to have one of the nurses on this side and then one of the nurses on the other side as well. And then there might be a few little nicks and knacks to make a little bit more atmosphere from the games. So yeah, so if you like this build, please smash that like button and share on Facebook and Twitter, because it helps new people find the YouTube channel, which I'm always appreciative of. Thank you for your help. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so you don't miss out on future builds. So once again, I'm Francis Gray, and this has been the Pyramid Head from Silent Hill, and thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.